Townsend as well. Kathleen, thank you. We've had the chance to work together, and I also want to acknowledge Maeve and Gideon, so thank you for being here today. We appreciate it. I want to thank Eleanor Holmes-Norton, Deputy Mayor Felchecchio, Events DC board members, also Brooke Pinto, our Ward 2 council member. Brooke, thank you for coming. And our council member-elect from Ward 3, Matt Fruman. Matt, thank you for coming and making the trek. We appreciate it. I also want to thank the team from Smoot and all the folks working on this every day. Thank you, guys. We appreciate it. I'm going to be brief because I know we have a few speakers. I remember coming here a lot, seeing football games with Doug Williams, seeing the Grateful Dead and Traffic. Those memories are maybe not as forward in my head as some of the others. But this is an important place, and the memories that have been here, this is bittersweet, right? We have a lot of memories here, and we're here today taking it down. And one of the things that this will enable us is a ripple of new opportunity here. We're going to have such a great opportunity to reimagine this and rebuild on this site, and we're really, really excited for that opportunity. Just a couple quick things. The Beatles played their penultimate concert here in 1966, 32,000 fans. The Grateful Dead, Bob Dylan, I think one of the Grateful Dead shows was about 105 degrees. I was talking to Mark Seagraves. I think he was here, and it was really, really hot. Jackson 5 and a whole bunch of other acts here. Whether it was the Screaming Eagles or Nats fans or decked out in burgundy and gold, people shared their memories here and their family time here, and it's really important. This 190 acres will once again be used for residents of DC and across the country and the world, and we're really excited about that. Finally, it's my honor to introduce our mayor, Mayor Muriel Bowser, to give some remarks and comments and maybe a few stories about your times here. Mayor? Great to see you.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. I am happy, I guess is a word, but when I walked in here, I hadn't been here, like many of us, in a very long time. And I was just very sad to see what was a vibrant, rocking stadium be in the condition that it is. But like so many things, this is the start to what's next. And it's very important for us to acknowledge all the good times here at RFK, and we are joined by our Super Bowl MVP, Doug Williams. Let's hear it for Doug. So for all of us who watched Doug play, rooted for him and our football team, and also rooted for our city in having a Super Bowl championship team in Washington, D.C. meant a lot to all of us. But I think my last experience here at RFK was for a baseball game and having a suite full of Washingtonians eating hot dogs, celebrating our team, also looking forward to what was next. We are proud to have a monument to RFK here in Washington, D.C., but we know that a stadium that is falling down is not the memorial that he deserves in the nation's capital. I am very, very honored that Lieutenant Governor Kathleen Kennedy Townsend has joined us. Please give Kathleen a beautiful welcome for honoring her family. It's so important. I also want to thank all of our team in economic development at Events DC who take our responsibility to shepherd this land very seriously. It has served us well as a recreation space, hasn't it? But with 190 acres, you can have recreation, housing, jobs, better access to the river, better parks, better event space for more sports, You can have a local $60 million recreation space that I proposed and the council has already approved. In 190 acres, we can deliver for Washington, D.C. So I am grateful that Events DC has included RFK's past tenants, the Commanders, DC United, and the Nationals to help us secure and preserve some of the iconic memorabilia that so many have come to enjoy about this stadium. We've made it a priority over the past few years to help put the campus back into productive use. In 2019, you will remember we opened the fields at RFK. I want to acknowledge and thank the Ward 6 community who organized and continues to organize around that use. We transformed 27 acres of asphalt into fields, playgrounds, and more. As I mentioned in my most recent budget, we funded a new indoor sports complex to be built right here. So over nearly 6 decades, we've hosted the best athletes on this campus, and we want to continue to do that. Hopefully, one day, when they grow up, the kids that have played here will also be able to compete in the Olympics or World Cup right in their hometown. So to that end, as we say goodbye to this stadium, we say hello to the possibilities of our future. So obviously, planning for the future is not a simple process. It would be easier if the district already owned this land, but we're working on that. But we know we can't let it sit barren. We can't allow for this to be the picture of RFK in our town. We know that we're a leader in sports and entertainment and in culture, and we want to be responsible for how it moves forward. So when we talk about bringing a new stadium here, part of that conversation, of course, is about football, but it's also about our ability to be able to host big events. We were disappointed recently, for example, when D.C. was not chosen as a site for the 2026 World Cup. And we know the biggest reason for that is we didn't have a stadium that could support the events. So we know big cities do big things, including hosting the World Cup. So as I said, some of these things can be complicated, but we have a strong track record of using federal land and putting it into productive use. Recent achievements include Walter Reed, the Navy Yard, and the Wharf. We're putting all of those formerly underused sites to better use for housing, jobs, recreation, and bringing Washingtonians together. And that's exactly what we hope to do here. So goodbye, RFK. Hello, future. And the future is bright. And with that, I would like to introduce our friend, Kathleen Kennedy Townsend.
Thank you for those great words and for that hope. As you said when you walked in, part of this is a sad day as you look around and you remember all the great things that happened in this stadium. I want to thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to thank the Councilwoman Brooke Pinto. As many of you have heard, I keep announcing she's my cousin. She now is at least looking up when I say it rather than looking down. And I'm glad to be here with my friend Max Brown and Doug Williams, who made us proud here in Washington. Angie Gates, I'm so glad you come up from Mississippi and decided to live in Washington. Thank you. This is, I have to tell you, a poignant day for my family. It is a passing of one of the most happiest traditions for my mother, my brothers and sisters, my mother's friends, and something that she shared with so many Washingtonians, going to a Redskins game. The week before they went, it was a hugely anticipated event. How were they all going to fit into the car? I think that my mother had 12 tickets, and she routinely brought 24 people. But what was the ticket taker going to say? No to Mrs. Robert Kennedy? They didn't. There was always a huge thermos of daiquiris, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, chocolate chip cookies. There was lots of noise, huge screams for runs, passes, tackles, touchdowns, kicks, and wins were the rage. And they were winning times. Mom then invited the players to come play touch football at Hickory Hill, and they came. Art Bunks, Sonny Jurgensen, Billy Kilmer, John Riggins, Joe Theismann, Dower Green. They swam, they went down the slide for life, they played touch football. They were really wonderful sports, and then they participated with Art Buchwald in the pet show. So thank you, all those wonderful football players, for coming to Mom's house and being such terrific sports. Later, this precious stadium hosted DC United, and my grandson Gideon kicked the first ball at the last soccer game. He loved soccer, and he went to soccer camp 2 blocks from here. Eventually, he made the traveling team. His parents, my daughter Maeve and Dave, chose to live near the Potomac Metro stop, and Maeve was the PT president of the Capitol Hill cluster. This was their hood. Maeve was chair of the efforts to remember my father and worked closely with Max Brown and Events DC. I was so glad that they chose to live in this part of the city where my mother and Bobby Smith and Susie Wills devoted so much of her time and effort to clean up the Anacostia. There is a revival in this part of the city, a revival that matches the original vision of the founders. If you look at the Capitol of the dome of the Capitol, you'll see that the Native American on the top looks east towards where we stand right now. They knew that this was the part of the city that counts. And I'm so glad that the mayor will continue to remember my father's contributions to this country and to this city. He loved this city. Our first 5 years were in this city, and we really helped it through its toughest times in the riots. Let me just finish with how this stadium came to be named. How many of you know that story? 3 people. On January 19th, 1969, the Secretary of the Interior, Stuart Udall, named the stadium for my father. If any of you know what January 19th, 1969 is, you may know that that's the one day before the new President of the United States, Richard Nixon, became president and was sworn in, and the last day of the former President Johnson's term in office. So we had no time to reverse the decision. So that's how it got named. Hallelujah, Stuart Udall. It was a special moment, a kairos moment, as the Greeks would say. Today, too, is a kairos moment, a chance, as the mayor said, to take this land and make it special for the people of Washington, a welcome to those who cross the Anacostia, and a place to be enjoyed for all the residents nearby. I was looking for a special quote for this moment, And I have a book, really pages that have been Xeroxed. And somebody told me, you can't use the word Xerox, but I'm explaining. That's how old this book is, of my father's note cards. And on the very first page of this Xerox book is a quote about Plutarch. And I'm going to change the pronouns. It says, she threw herself into the petty details of city management. She said of herself that her neighbors often laughed at her when they saw her watching, for instance, while the stone and mortar were measured out. But she would only say this is not for myself, for my country. This is the way she spent her life, centered on the sphere of little things, but never despising them or pitying herself. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for you are creating a space by paying attention to all the little things in this city so it can be a great city for this country and the world.
Wow, I got to follow her. Hey, just remember I said this, hollow ground. You know, the stadium was built in 1961. The last time was 1996 that they played a game here. And I want to thank your father for what he did, you know, with the Justice Department, allowing the only way that the Redskins at that time could play here if they allowed African-American players. And if you notice, I'm wearing number 49. I'm representing Bobby Mitchell, because Bobby Mitchell was that guy. And that's what this is all about. Stadium was good for me. You know, I didn't start my career here, but I was adopted here. So the fact that I was adopted here, I live here. I love it here. And they made it good for me. And it was so many things that happened here. A guy like Bobby Mitchell. And that's why I call it hollow ground. When you think about it, you think about Charlie Taylor, you think about Brig Owens, Kenny Houston, Dave Butts, Sonny Jurgensen, the Posse. All those guys played out there. That's hollow ground. And that's why I call it hollow ground. There's another reason why I call it hollow ground. When you think about the first game that the Redskins played in here, they lost 24-21 to the New York Giants, who we'll see next week. But the first game they won in here was against the Cowboys. And that's the good part about it. But let me read some stuff off to you and to make you realize it is hollow ground out there. We won 63% of the games that was played in here. Played 12 playoff games, was 11-1 in 12 playoff games. And out of those 12 playoff games, we hosted 5 NFC championships, and we won all 5. That led to 3 Super Bowl champions. You know, and the last game that was played in here was against the Cowboys, and we won 37-10. So it's hollow ground. And standing up here today, it's a bittersweet situation. And the bitterness is the fact that the history in this place has to come down. The only thing that can make it sweet, and I think without saying it, is to have a sports arena built on this same ground. And 190 acres, we ought to be able to do that. And hopefully it comes to that. So today, for me being here, you know, it's a tough day. I was walking in, I looked at that end zone down there, and in 1987, we was playing the Minnesota Vikings. And Gary Clark, if you know Gary Clark, he was one of the hardest-headed receivers you ever want to play with, because he was open all the time, even when he got it and when he didn't get the ball. But Gary Clark caught winning TD down that end zone against the Minnesota Vikings. And Darryl Green knocked the ball away down in his end zone against Darren Nelson to propel us to the Super Bowl 22. So, you know, there's so many memories in here. I'm looking around, I'm thinking about walking off the field and the fans could hit you in the head. This was the right size for a football field. And there's so much history in here, and it's sad to see it go down. And these last seats, man, it's tough. But it has to happen because we got new ideas. Don't we, Mayor? Yeah, we got something special, hopefully, in the future. So I just want to say this is my pleasure to be here and just give you a little history of the Washington Redskins, who are now the Washington Commanders. Thank you. Hey, I was so much in the moment.
You did a great job.
Bill Hamid.
You did a great job. You did a great job. Yeah, wow. RFK. Lot 8 was truly a trip. That long bout of traffic on the highway, and then you go into the tunnel and you get to where you pay for the parking. And I remember as a kid, you're looking out the back window and you just on the street full of trees. But coming to RFK so often for the games, you get to the end of it, and as a young boy, it felt like I was crossing into like the Chronicles of Narnia or something like that. Because you see the stadium, you see all the fans in Lot 8, you see the smoker, that you can smell the barbecue, you see all the kids running around in the parking lot tailgating and enjoying the moment. And that's how I made my start. That's what RFK gave to me, and I'm super, super grateful. I used to get excited also because, you know, when you're driving up to the stadium, you see like a car next to your car, and there's like 7 DC United jerseys in the car, but it's a 4-seater. So somehow they squeeze everybody in, and they're trying to come to the game to enjoy themselves, and I get so excited. It gave me so much joy. It gave all of us as young boys so much joy to want to come here and see our passion, see, you know, DC United play, see the Washington Freedom when they had doubleheaders back in the day. You have the men's game, you have the women's game right after. So us as a soccer community, we were together, which is a beautiful thing. I wrote this, and I don't even want to do that. I'm coming from the heart. You know, last night I stayed up till like 5 a.m. On YouTube because, you know, I have so many memories myself here, starting my career with DC United here, my first game on May 5th, 2010, but I wanted to know more. You know, I've seen throughout the years the portraits in the concourse. I've seen those. I've seen, you know, Michael Jackson. You know, the Michael Jackson performed in the stadium. Yeah, the United We Stand concert with Mariah Carey, with the Backstreet Boys, with the Goo Goo Dolls and Aerosmith. You know, so many talented artists that came here and performed, and I wanted to learn more. So I watched all these concerts, and I didn't know the history, but I could feel it. I could feel it while I was watching, and it felt good. It felt good to know that this place not only brought me joy, it brought the whole community joy. It brought people together in a special way, and it gave me a lot of help in my life, in my career. You know, we had an old gym underneath the stadium, a very old gym, but I'd come here at like 6 p.m. You know, the whole team is left, the whole medical staff, training staff is left. I'd come and I'd work out in the gym, and at that point, the mice had already started running around. So I had like a couple mice. You remember the Michael Jackson movie, the Jackson 5 movie? You know, he had the mice that he named? Exactly. That was me in the gym, and it was just like my sanctuary, you know. Once they gave me that key card, that access key card, and I'm a rookie, I'm making peanuts, and I'm trying to prove myself. This place gave me that sanctuary to stay away from trouble, come and stay focused, and go after my goals, go after my dreams. And that's the most beautiful feeling I could ever imagine. I played my first game here. I watched so many young players make their way. But there's also some bad parts to RFK that I want to mention, by the way. So there are two things. In the back parking lot, in lot 8, I think lot 5 or lot 4 off of Benning Road, every Thursday and Friday, there'd be a gentleman who would pull up with in his pickup truck. He'd have a tent back there, and he also have a smoker. And this gentleman would, every Thursday and Friday, get there around 11 a.m., which is right when we'd finish practice in the back, so I could smell the barbecue ribs. So Thursday and Friday, I'm back there getting barbecue ribs and mac and cheese, and then they have to weigh us on Saturday, and I'm just like, trying to suck it in and go to the sauna before practice. But that brought me joy. It brought me joy. It was our, and then also the second one was the chili cook-off, the annual chili cook-off. I was always at that chili cook-off, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed those moments. I enjoyed everything that this stadium gave me. It gave me an opportunity. I grew up in this area. I took the metro to this facility to come and work as a high schooler. I sat as a high schooler in the offices with the crew, and they treated me like a kid. They bullied me. We had a great time. But yeah, I remember. Yeah, I got a lot of memories here. So it sucks to see it go down, but it feels good that I brought my son with me today. And he's with me here. I'm going to take a photo with him, ask Michelle to frame it. And I'm going to remember it. I'm going to remember RFK from the beginning, because it was a real thing for us as youngsters to have the opportunity to be a part of a professional organization. And DC United gave us that. RFK gave us that. RFK gave me so many memories, so many games, so many bad games through 13 years. So many great games, great memories, until we opened Audi Field. You know, that was a joy. But RFK, I even said it in that speech, I used to dribble the ball through the concourse area during the games with my teammates, just dribbling through the fans. And then some fans would try to take the ball from us. We don't know them from nowhere, but we were together. And I guess the moral of my story is RFK brought so many people together, and I'm grateful that I could have been a part of it. So, thank you, RFK. I made the same mistake he did. Next, the owner of the Washington Spirit, Miss Michelle Kang.
Thank you. I didn't realize I was supposed to address all of you, but it is an incredible honor for me to be part of this historic day, the last chapter of the DC institution that brought, sounds like some tears, but primarily joy and happiness to this community. And it's particularly meaningful for all of us at the Washington Spirit, because I know some of the fun facts were shared with you, but one of the more specific facts for us is that the very first women's professional soccer league, called WUSA, played its very first game. Therefore, the very first women's professional soccer game in the world was played right here on April 14th, 2001. And between Washington Freedom and the Bay Area Cyber Rays. Does anyone remember who won? Washington Freedom won 1-0. So it's just really meaningful. I wish I had brought Mia Hamm, who was an instrumental, incredible player, part of the Washington Freedom. But so therefore, we're sad in one way to see this institution go, but we're really excited to see what the next chapter brings. And 190 acres is a pretty big land, and we Washington Spirit dream big, and we're hoping that women's sports is part of that, the next chapter. And in some way, this also, the RFK Stadium becomes the mecca for women's sports. So we are really trying hard to be the best sports team, women's professional sports team, and bring joy and happiness and to this community. And hopefully you have heard that we just announced that we're going to move all our games to Audi Field starting 2023 season. So I hope to see all of you there until a new form of stadium is built, and in some way we become part of it. So thank you so much for including me in this incredible institution, incredible day, and hope to see you all at Audi for our games, and thank you. And I would like to now next introduce Gregory McCarthy from Washington Nationals baseball team.
Thank you very much. I'm reminded this is the season of joy and celebration, and in that regard, it's really great to see Angie Gates at the helm of Events DC. Congratulations. And since we are a community that supports professional athletes, can we have an applause and some holler for the fact that Brittany Griner is on her way home? That's a very joyous day. So RFK Stadium has a very rich baseball legacy here. One sport, one fan base, and two teams separated by 33 years. I'm going to speak a bit about the Nationals experience here and add a personal reflection about the time that the Senators were here also. And since we have so many government leaders here today and civic leaders, it seems appropriate to reminisce a bit about the who and the how of baseball's return to Washington in 2005. For years, there was a grassroots movement to bring baseball back to D.C., but it fell on deaf ears at MLB until September 2004, when it was announced they were going to relocate the Montreal Expos to Washington, D.C. It was then incumbent upon our city's elected leaders to pass the necessary legislation to make it happen. And the final bill passed the D.C. Council just before Christmas in 2004. It was a landslide vote, 7-6. You remember that, Jack Evans? Yes, I think you do. Included in the bill was $18 million to renovate RFK Stadium so it would be ready to host baseball in just 3.5 months. All eyes turned to the D.C. Sports and Entertainment Commission, now known as Events D.C., to make it happen. I want to acknowledge the leadership of the time. Mark Toohey and Bobby Goldwater are here today. And nowadays, the city does large construction with great distinction, on time and on budget. But back then, this project was a leap of faith, and the Sports Commission hit a home run, completing the project for opening day, April 14th, 2005. President George W. Bush threw out the first ceremonial pitch, and the Nationals defeated the Arizona Diamondbacks 5-3 as Vinny Castilla delighted a capacity crowd of 45,000 with a double, a triple, and a home run. And under the leadership of our manager, Hall of Famer Frank Robinson, the Nationals were on fire, ending the halfway mark through the season with a record of 50-31. Now, who can forget Father's Day, 2006, when a brand new player, a rookie just drafted from UVA named Ryan Zimmerman, hit a 2-run walk-off homer to defeat the New York Yankees 3-2 in front of his father in the stands. And who can forget Alfonso Soriano, who on September 16th, 2006, became the 4th member of the 40-40 Club, stealing his 40th base of the season and going on to hit 46 home runs. On September 23rd, 2007, the Nationals played their final game at RFK, the 1,047th professional baseball game at this park. The 5-3 win over the Philadelphia Phillies gave the team a winning record at 3 years at RFK, 122 wins and 121 losses. It counts. Now, I'm old enough to remember attending baseball games at RFK during the Washington Senators era, including the 1969 All-Star Game, was originally scheduled for the afternoon of July 22nd and was postponed one day because of rain. President Richard Nixon, who's been mentioned 3 times today, I don't know why, was supposed to throw out the ceremonial first pitch, but had to travel the next day to the Pacific Ocean to welcome back the Apollo 11 capsule. So he was filled in the next day by Vice President Spiro Agnew. It was the last year that the All-Star Game was played during the daytime, and my father, who was a Marine at the Pentagon, took off work and spoke to my principal, Sister Ursula Marie and sprung me from the first grade at Queen of the Apostles School in Alexandria. He was dejected that he could not get off work the next day, and I had no way to get to the game. Sister Ursula Marie heard about this predicament and volunteered her deputy, Sister Marie Christine, an avid baseball fan, to take me to the game. So I'm probably the only person here today who was escorted to an All-Star game by a nun. Now, incidentally, the roster for the All-Star game included some players you may have heard about. Hank Aaron, Willie McCovey, Ron Santo, and Johnny Bench on the National League roster. And for the American League, how's this? Rod Carew, Reggie Jackson, Frank Robinson, and the Senators' own Frank Howard. Now, the fact that I remember all this 53 years later speaks to the legacy everlasting of the grass, dead grass, and concrete around us today. The legacy we're celebrating isn't just the players and games associated with the site, but the precious memories created here for fans of all stripes. There are grandmas and grandsons, uncles and nephews, fathers and daughters, and yes, nuns and their students who will never forget the moments they shared here at RFK. So even when this structure is gone, those memories will be eternal, and that is quite a legacy. Thank you. And it's my great pleasure to introduce the best council person in the D.C. Council, my council member, Brooke Pinto from Ward 2.
Thank you so much, Greg, and that is an amazing story. I am so happy to be here with you all today and so grateful that Chin has just shared some gloves with us, which is so classically hospitable of Events DC, and hospitality and sports really run in such tandem here in our community and in our city. And so we're so thrilled to have you all and be here. Thank you. My name is Brooke Pinto, and I have the privilege of representing Ward 2 on the DC Council. And I'm a very proud cousin of Kathleen Kennedy Townsend and the Kennedy family. And Robert F. Kennedy and really all of your family and Ethel and all of the kids by extension have been such beacons of, but by extension, excuse me, and in your own right, such beacons of hope for our family, for our city, for our country, and hope that we can be better and that we do deserve better. And we've seen that in so many areas, from human rights to racial justice to economic development, and especially what we as a country and city have been through in the last couple of years. I have found myself thinking about what it would look like if RFK had been leading our country through this. And it's very inspiring to think about the hope that he's instilled in all of us and how we can continue carrying that message forward. But you know, the other thing that gives us hope is sports. And we see that in our players and the opportunities it provides. We see it in our young children who can watch our wonderful games. We see it in economic development and what we can envision and reimagine for our communities. And as the Ward 2 council member, I'm particularly proud that we have Events DC and the Capital One Arena, but we have excellent sports throughout our city and our soccer and our baseball teams as well. And so there is one glaring team missing, and that is the Washington Commanders. And it is time we bring them home where they belong.
quote. So with that, I want to thank some people, and then I want to tell you a little bit about what's going to happen next. First and foremost, one of the things that Lieutenant Governor and I were just talking about, Mayor Bowser, was how do we honor the legacy of RFK in the days, the weeks, the months, and the years ahead? Well, the D.C. Council actually started that process back in 2008. They named the Benning Road Bridge the Ethel Kennedy Bridge. It was under the leadership of then Council Chair Vince Gray. Let's give him a round of applause. He's represented today by his wife, Dawn Cum. And let's also thank those who had the vision to know that this stadium may one day pass, but that the memory was important to live on. So the district was able to acquire from the federal government 67 acres of land. It was called Reservation 13. We call it Hill East. And what we've done is we've taken the first steps to actually really realize the vision of RFK, to have a mixed use community, to have a mixed income community where all who want to live have the opportunity to do it. So if you go just a few steps away from here, you'll get to the Hill East campus, and you'll see already 262 units of housing with dozens of affordable housing units. And you'll also see something that Mayor Bowser is going to deliver early next year, which is 100 units of permanent supportive housing for women. The building, rightly so, is called the Ethel, in honor of Ethel Kennedy. So we have both the Park Kennedy, the apartment buildings, and the Ethel to honor the legacy of Robert Kennedy. We also do all this in partnership with many of the neighbors who live right around this campus. I have to give an acknowledgement to Commissioner Denise Krepp, former Commissioner Francis Campbell, who are here with us today. Let's give them a round of applause for their work, for their leadership on all that they do for the neighborhood. Also, nobody's mentioned, so Events DC handed me a note and said, the seats are for sale. So if you want one of those orange seats, all you have to do is go to farewellrfk.com. Did I get that right? Okay, good. I was worried I'd get the quote right and the website wrong, but I got that right. So go to that website, and when you make a purchase of an orange seat, it actually goes to benefit St. Coletta's, just right down the street, St. Coletta, and the Boys and Girls Club. So check out farewellrfk.com, and you could bring home one of those orange seats. So with that, what happens next? Well, one, in the big picture, in this big scheme of things, we have to continue a conversation with our federal partners, but we also have to make sure that we talk with our partners on the council. Councilmember Pinto made it clear what her vision is for what happens at this campus. I know we'll have an important conversation with Councilmember-elect Matt Fruman, who's joined us today as he joins the council in January. Let's give him a round of applause, of course. But really, the 190 acres that you heard about, it's important that we really have a big opportunity here to dare to fail greatly, to achieve greatly. So let's do that all together. So with that, what happens immediately now is we're going to ask all the speakers to come through that rope expansion that you see right there, or excuse me, right here. Here's a little cutout right here in the wall. We're going to ask all the speakers to get right behind the chair. Right behind the chair there. So if the speakers want to do that, and then what we're going to ask, and the cameras can stay on because we're not going to allow anybody to come up this way. The cameras can stay on their stands. All the speakers, if you want to come up this way, stand right behind. And then I know we've got a couple folks who are commissioners on the Events DC. We're going to have you go in the second row. So all the commissioners from Events DC, why don't we have you come up to the second row? And we'll do that with the former commissioners too. Mark Toohey, come on, get up there. Bring your friends. You got two friends. Mark, bring them along. So let's have them on the second row. And then what we'll do for the members of the media, I know you've got some questions. Mayor Bowser is going to come back up to the cameras up there, and she'll speak to you. So what I'll ask, though, for everybody else is just stay so that you're not in the shot. There's no other poetic way to say it, but stay here so you're not in the shot. And what we'll do is we'll have a couple photos, and then some of the team members from Events DC will actually remove those chairs, and the final orange chairs will actually depart from the stadium. So with that, remember, go check out farewellrfk.com for more information. Thank you, everyone.
Three, right here. 1, 2, and 3. One more time, this way. 3. 1, 2, got it. And 3. 3. 1, 2, and 3.
You might want to go to 2. Yeah. This is up here. Sean, you good? They're actually going to get a tight side with the goals. Who's that?
No, don't do it.
We now return to our previously scheduled program, already in progress.